For 10 of the 15 years preceding 2016, then it doesn't put him in a very strong position to be arguing that tax people should pay their own tax and that workers should pay their own tax, given almost every single American will have paid more tax than the man who bills himself as a multi-billionaire. So that hasn't gone down too well. However, of course, there's the other side of that argument, which is that the New York Times story is fake news, according to the president. And his spokesperson, a deputy White House spokesman, Brian Morgenstern, took up the cudgels and basically cast some doubt on the veracity of the story from the beginning.
The documents the New York Times used, they wouldn't even show them to anybody so that they could be verified or disputed. The president's attorney stated he's paid tens of millions of dollars in taxes. We know this. We know that he donates his salary to the government even when he doesn't even have to. That's $1.5 million in taxes he didn't even have to pay.
Well, there's the other side of that coin, which is from Nancy Pelosi. She's, of course, the House Speaker, Democrat, leading Democrat. She's concerned more about the news from those documents, if it's true, that his companies are in debt to 420-odd million US dollars, 600 million Australian dollars, and just who is that debt to?
This president appears to have over $400 million in debt, 420, whatever it is, million dollars in debt. To whom? Different countries? What is the leverage they have? So for me, this is a national security question.
We've got the debate coming, and it will no doubt be raised. This has given Joe Biden an absolute gift. But on the other side, he's going to be attacked basically by the president. The president's already said this at his press conference yesterday, that his son Biden has taken millions of dollars from foreign countries and that Biden must have known about it. He's up to his neck in it. So the mud will be thrown in all directions. However, there'll be some very hard questions, I think, from Biden. Very direct questions. Mr. President, did you pay no more than 1,000 Australian dollars, won't be asked Australian, 750 American dollars in tax in 2016, 2017? And if he evades that, well, it's going to look pretty bad for him. But we await to see the result of that.
Well, for the first time in the history of Milan Fashion Week, a group of African-born Italian designers have launched a collection celebrating the Black Lives Matter movement. It's once again brought attention to the lack of diversity in the Italian fashion scene, where designers of colour remain in the minority. Here's Rachel Merritt.
As Europe grapples with a second wave of coronavirus, the annual Milan Fashion Week is providing a welcome distraction. With the return of physical catwalks and socially distant crowds, it's a brief return to normal. But it wasn't only eye-catching designs up for discussion. This year, a landmark collection is calling out racial injustice.
It's very important for us to show the world that Made in Italy doesn't correspond to a particular colour. We want to destroy the prejudice that being Italian means being white.
For the first time in the event's 62-year history, Made in Italy is a digital show dedicated solely to the work of Black Italian designers. The collection features the work of 5 African-born designers who have taken inspiration from their heritage and traditional tribal patterns and materials. Around 1.2 million Africans currently call the country home, a minority in a population of 60 million. But few are represented behind the doors of Italian fashion houses. At a time when Black Lives Matter is resonating across the globe, industry insiders say the movement isn't generating change in Italy.
The Italian brands pretend not to see them and give all their attention to the Black Lives Matter movements only outside of Italy. We have a racial problem, and if we don't start opening the wound in order to heal it, the wound will never heal. The Italian Fashion Council, which has only one black designer, has agreed to provide scholarships to fashion students from minority backgrounds. The head of the council says these reforms are only the beginning and will continue to develop its diversity manifesto with the hope of greater participation this time next year.
Rachel Merritt, ABC News.
Well, scientists say they found evidence of large bodies of underground water on Mars. Publishing in the journal Nature, Italian scientists say they found what they believe is an underground lake along with smaller several bodies of water using data from the European Space Agency's Mars Express orbiter. It's estimated the main lake is up to 30 kilometres wide, buried 1.5 kilometres beneath the surface. Now, the find raises the prospect of some form of life surviving on the red planet and could also provide an important resource for future exploration. Well, there's been no lockdown love for the two giant pandas at Adelaide Zoo. A 48-hour breeding window for Wong Wong and Funi has closed without any success. Reproductive specialists couldn't travel from China this year for artificial insemination, leaving the panda couple to work things out for themselves, and they didn't manage that. Adelaide Zoo says the pair did, though, show some interest in one another, generating hope that they may make a family in the years ahead. He seems more interested in carrots. Experienced Swedish coach Tony Gustafsson has been appointed the new coach of the Matildas. Gustafsson has had 2 stints as an assistant coach with the US women's team, helping it win the past 2 World Cups. The 47-year-old will guide the Matildas at the next 2 Olympics, the Asian Cup in India and the 2023 World Cup on home soil. He replaces Ante Milicic, who's left the Matildas to coach new A-League club MacArthur FC. Well, it was a disappointing day too at the French Open for Australians. James Duckworth, Alexander Vukic and John Millman all lost in straight sets in round 1. Meanwhile, 23-time Grand Slam champion Serena Williams beat fellow American Christy Ahn in straight sets. And Rafa Nadal also booked his place in the second round with a straight sets win over Igor Gerasimov. Nadal is aiming to win his 13th title at Roland Garros and his 20th Grand Slam overall. Now, that would see him draw level with Roger Federer. In the NRL, the Panthers have had a dream run to the finals, smashing club records and finishing on top of the ladder. But success hasn't come overnight. The club invests more in its junior program than any other, and it is paying off. The minor premiership has been clinched, but Penrith still has unfinished business.
The Panthers have beaten every team that's come before them.
The Panthers have beaten the Premiers.
Winning a record 15 straight and the minor premiership.
Oh, it's just brilliant. Stop it.
Together, they've created a winning culture, which started when they played together in their teens.
In the under-20s, we had a real good streak going. But yeah, never anything like this, I don't think.
That history has developed Nathan Cleary and Jerome Luai into an unbeatable halves pairing.
I think that's like that across the whole sorts of team. But yeah, the form that Nathan's in, he's killing it.
The bulk of this squad has come through the junior